This is Alcohol Freedom Finders. In this episode, Margie tells us about the emotional moment she went from feeling alone and too old to change to finding a coach who gave her the belief that she actually could change. She felt firsthand the power of having a coach to guide you, who's been in your shoes, faced what you're facing, and found their own way to freedom. She now helps others find their way with her own successful coaching business. Let's get started. Welcome to Alcohol Freedom Finders with me, Barry Condon, and my friend and colleague, Justine Clark. We're joined by Margie Coltharp from Arkansas in the US. Margie is a lifestyle and wellness coach and also a TNMI trained coach like Justine and myself, runs group programs like us. And so we're really excited to have time to sit down and talk with Margie and hear a bit more about her story and the people that she helps.
Welcome, Margie.
Thank you.
It's
nice
really
to be
nice
here.
to have you. I've followed your journey over the last year and love being on calls with you. So we're really excited to have you on our podcast with us. And I really want to hear more about your journey. What led you to This Naked Mind and becoming alcohol free and ultimately a coach?
I won't go all the way back, but basically it was during COVID, and a lot of us found ourselves drinking more than we should. But I was very much in denial about whether or not alcohol was playing any part in my physical health declining, and it was declining pretty rapidly. I found myself with my blood pressure getting very, very high, and I kept saying, no, it's fine. I was felt very healthy. But one day my daughter, who's a nurse, insisted I take my blood pressure, and it was something very scary to her, high. And she said, Mom, you have to go to the emergency room. And I said, it's COVID and it's 4:00 in the afternoon. I mean, happy hour, come on. And she insisted. So I did. I went to the emergency room and they told me that I was very near having a stroke, which got my attention, and they put me on medication, and I did a lot of follow-ups. And I had a lot of time to think. I did not stop drinking at that point, but I had a lot of time to think about what is happening here. And, the thinking led to, well, maybe it's the alcohol. And about that time, I was seeing a lot of ads pop up from Annie Grace. Who is this Annie Grace? What is this alcohol experiment? I don't know what this is. But at the same time, it was sort of like the cognitive dissonance that we talk about, learning. Part of me said, yeah, you probably need to look at that. And part of me was like, no, I'm fine. I have medicine now. So Annie won. Her ads actually won. And I signed up for the alcohol experiment in January of 2022.
It's amazing that they almost scary that the algorithm, begins to know before us, what we need. But yeah, that kind of thing, subconsciously you've started clicking in various places and been interested and been worried about things. And then, it starts out as can start out as a sort of, just want to be healthier but yeah, no, it really interesting. And I can resonate with the blood pressure. I was on blood pressure pills for a long time and not anymore. Having stopped, they became unnecessary after a while, which is great. So, tell us some more. What was the next step then for you?
Yeah, well, part of the do I, don't I was, I was 64 years old at the time, and I thought, oh, that's too late. There's no way. Nothing is, I've tried dry Januaries. I've tried all of the different ways. And I read the books, the whole bit, and I thought it was really a Hail Mary pass, if you want to be honest, if I'm being honest. And I signed up on a whim. I said, I don't know who this Annie Grace person is, but I'm going to just give it a shot. The price point was right for me to say, if it's a fail, it's a fail, and I'm willing to take that. So I did sign up, and the very first day, a coach looked me in the eye when I said, I can't do this. I'm positive I can't do this. I'm too old. And it was Coach Simon, I think it was. And he looked at me with these piercing blue eyes, and he looked right into the camera at me, and he they told me how much my value and how much my worth was intact. I had everything I needed. And I just melted and cried. And no one had ever talked to me that way before. And that's what that was the turning point for me. I needed to hear that I'm okay and that I'm not broken and that there was hope for me. It was exactly what I needed to hear. So I was all in at that point. All of the do I, don't I, do this was
I love that,
evaporated.
Margie. What I'd like to say there is, first of all, the fact that on a whim you signed up, but actually there's a part of our subconscious mind that's been screaming out for a long time and screaming out for help. And like Barry was saying earlier, we are sort of tentatively exploring, am I drinking too much? How much is too much? What if I do 12 drinks a week? What if I just do 3 days a week? What if I moderate? All of those questions. So first of all, is it really a whim when we sign up? Because I would say that I resonate with that as well, going, oh yeah, it was just a whim signing up with Annie. But really it wasn't. I'd been worrying for a long time that, knowing I wasn't an alcoholic, but also knowing that something wasn't quite right. And then the second part is how you speak about the coaching in the program and how unique and special this type of coaching is. Can you speak more about that?
Oh my gosh, yes. All of the coaches that I experienced were amazing and all unique in their approach, in their coaching style, and it was as though I was being welcomed home. And I was virtual. I mean, it was completely virtual. It was a 30-day program, and it was the largest class that they'd ever had. I think there were 2,000 people or something like that. It was just huge. But I never felt alone, and I never felt one of many. I felt like I was right there with the coach. That's how they made me feel. Very safe, very welcomed, and they were very knowledgeable. The science and the compassion were the two things that just said, got you. That's what I needed.
That's lovely. And that for me, the same. It's the science is one thing, and you the science you kind of given, certainly on we use the program from Annie for our 30-day coaching, and you get a video every day, and that gives you the information, that gives you the science, that gives you the understanding that sort of supports the ideas that actually, it isn't your fault. It is just an addictive substance that will get pretty much anybody given the right circumstances. But to hear that back from a coach, it's sort of goes against the way that we're as a society sort of led to believe. It's supposed to be something you control. It's supposed to be something that you do responsibly. It's supposed to be something that everybody else seems to be able to do without it becoming an issue. And so you internalize it so negatively. And it's lovely to hear, oh yeah, it's not my fault. It's just, that's what it says on the bottle. It's alcohol. It's addictive. And for me, I think the amazing thing with coaching is also that it allows people to find their own way out, and their own private struggles, can be solved with a coach who just asks questions and just is there to guide them a little bit, but mostly just to ask the question and help them find their own answers, their own way out. And that's so empowering. And I think that with traditional methods, there's no empowerment at all. It feels like, you've got to say, oh, I'm the problem, and someone else is going to fix it for me if I follow these rules, rather than, and that works for a lot of people, which is great. But for me, it was never never felt like a solution. And so to find a way with coaching that you can be supported, science on the side, and find your own way back and get your own strength and get your own freedom is so empowering.
If you're looking to take back control of your drinking, why don't you join our Alcohol Freedom Finders 30-day group program? It's a great place to start. because we approach it as an experiment rather than a challenge. Whereas, as well as getting a great detox, you learn the science and the psychology about why you're drunk in the first place. So whether you want to stop altogether or just become a more mindful and moderate drinker, why don't you give it a crack? Use the link in the show notes to sign up to our next Alcohol Freedom Finders 30-day program, and you won't regret it, because no one ever woke up in the morning and said, I wish I'd had more to drink last night, did they? Now, back to the episode.
Are you able to talk a bit about the kind of people that you help now?
Sure. I have had a range. At first, I thought only women of my age range would be interested in having me as a coach, but I have coached women from 30s to 70s, and I've coached men, and it's, it's a common denominator. I like to say it's a club we never asked to join. And once the client feels accepted, it really doesn't matter their demographic. It is all about, do they feel safe? Do they feel connected? And do they feel like they belong? And that is my first goal, is to make sure that I have a connection with them, that they feel safe with me, and that they know that they belong, that they're in the right place, and that we're going to work together. And you're right, Barry, it's 10% alcohol and 90% emotional work. And people often say, well, isn't that what a therapist does? And I said, well, yeah, a therapist will help you go back. And I'm all for a client having a therapist and a coach, because therapy is all about going back and looking at what happened. And coaching is all about saying, all right, here you are now, let's look at the future. And when you have that triad together of client, therapist, you have that it's very effective, but it's equally effective to unearth all of that. We need to know where they are today, and we pretty much know where they want to go, but they have to tell us what the goal is, and then we set a plan.
I mean, that is the most powerful thing, what you mentioned right there, Margie. It's about being in the very, very present moment and taking a moment to drop into, what am I feeling? What am I noticing? What is it about the substance that is compelling? Is it the color? Is it the taste? Is it the temperature? Is it the situation? Is it myself? Like, starting to explore the reasons why. What do you typically notice in your clients that start the journey with you in terms of turnarounds, and how long it takes them to make some big shifts in your work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So clients that come to me, I have started asking them on testing their readiness. I would never turn a client away who said, I don't know if I'm ready to stop or not. I would still take them on, but I need to have that awareness of their readiness. And if a client comes to me and said, I've been trying for 10 years to stop, and I've had it, I am ready. Those clients tend to have their learning curve, their success curve is much flatter. If someone comes to me and says, I don't know, I really, kind of like I was, I really don't want to quit drinking, but I think I really need to, then their learning curve and their success curve is going to be much steeper. And every client is different. So my coaching is not one way for each one. It's, we work. And I am very honest and say, if this is where you are, that's fine. We will work with what we've got. And I will also be very transparent and say, in this amount of time, here's what I believe you can expect. I've had clients who are totally alcohol free, found their freedom, loving life, changed their perspective, their beliefs. And I have had clients who have said, okay, I think I'm good, left, come back and said, okay, let's try this again. And then I've had clients who have left, and I always keep in touch with them, and they're still drinking. And it's pretty much comes back to that very first conversation of, are you ready?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think, yeah. But we have lots of sort of tactics for people to ask the right questions to work out, on which level are they ready, and and that can be really powerful for people. And I think for me, I think with coaching and the way that we're able to sort of ask questions that when you look back, people might think, oh, well, that was an obvious question, but often when we're in it ourselves, we're sort of thinking with our logical brain and trying to solve it with our logical brain without realizing that maybe, I think the statistics are that sort of 90+% of our thoughts and decisions are actually made subconsciously. And I think that is the power of coaching, is that you can sort of try and get that connection with the subconscious, that the other part of the voice in your head that's, you've got the two voices often, one saying, you shouldn't be drinking, and the other one saying, go on, you'll feel better if you do. And to sort of try and get the two to sort of meet and have that understanding of each other, isn't easy in your own sort of executive frontal lobe, trying to solve it with rationality or with logical thinking. So it's those are the kind of breakthroughs that can be had with coaching. So I was just still thinking about that first encounter you had where you said, I feel I'm too old, I can't change, and I think a lot of people will think, well, I'm just different, I'm broken, I'm hopeless. And the coach found you. In fact, you found a way to connect with you. I mean, how do you go about that, making that sort of connection with people in the beginning of a coaching relationship?
So another great question. And I lean back on what we all learned in our coach training from Annie, is that, we're basically we're a system, inputs and outputs, right? Garbage in, garbage out. And I can ask them to tell me a little bit about themselves. I can tell them a little bit about myself. Two-way conversation. I can find out what kind of inputs, what kind of messaging that they are married to, or their beliefs, basically. And when I can connect those dots between the messages that they received throughout their life, what outputs those are. So they don't believe in themselves. They feel like they're broken. They've been told over and over and over they're this or they're that. They start to believe it. And then what do they do with that? And the outputs, they drink. So it's not linear, of course, but the more I can get them to feel comfortable with me, and sometimes that means I tell them my story. And I will tell them, I will hear them say something about their story, and I will relate to them. And I'll say, yes, me too. Me too. And that seems to, their shoulders kind of come down and their expressions kind of soften, because I think we all, when we came into this, whatever level we came into, whatever program, we all felt like we were the only ones. I know I did. Like, nobody has the story I have. And when you hear a coach say, that happened to me too, or I can relate to that, something similar, it is an instant connection. So that's typically how it works, is, in every relationship, coaching relationship, you have to allow for that time to kind of warm up and build trust. And that is all about just giving them space. And I think that is maybe a part of coaching that I have seen in my own experience that is missed, is just to slow down and give the client the space to say, I'm here, I don't know what's happening, I'm a little nervous, where's this going? So it really does have to be two-way.
It's
two-way
absolutely.
Two-way
I love the fact that you're talking about creating the space for change. And when we change our relationship with alcohol, there are lots of surprises along the way. I think for me the most surprising thing was, it didn't seem to be about alcohol at all. It actually seemed to be about my relationship with myself. And as Barry mentioned earlier, I've just moved back to New Zealand, so a lot of my infrastructure and support structures and systems have changed. And I'm really meeting myself hard right there, going, okay, what about you today? What are you going to do with yourself? How do you make yourself happy here? And I know that, that kind of, we talk about the liminal space, that little space between the conscious and the subconscious mind where change is possible. I can see a shadow of my former self, and it makes me sad thinking about it. But that when I'm feeling this discomfort of the new coming at me hard, who are my friends? Where are my clients going to come from? How do I move around this city? There is that part of me that still goes, there are other ways of comforting yourself. Instead, I've learned through coaching, the coaching we do, to lean in and listen to what is that emotion. What's been what are the surprises for you in either coaching or being alcohol free in your journey, Margie?
I am able to sit in discomfort where I would never in the past be able to do that. And I heard people say you have to sit in discomfort, and I would say, yeah, I don't even, when they would say, where do you feel this in your body? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. I would like to learn how to do that, but I intellectualized my emotions and I was really good at it. And so learning how to let those emotions kind of drop down and identify them in my body has been the biggest aha for me. Learning that I am everything I need. I am everything I need, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And that was another huge learning for me because I had lived my life trying to fit in what everybody else thought I should be, how I should navigate through the world and operate through the world. And so I had a mask on, depending on who I was with. And that mask, you can't hold that forever. But I will say this too. I believe the work that I've done with the Enneagram, which is based on ancient philosophy, personality, wisdom, that has been in so many ways complementary to the coaching certification work that I've done. It opens doors for people when they can see themselves, when they learn their Enneagram type. There's an instant connection. They start to get it much faster. And that was true for me too. So that is something that I've spent the last year on, really understanding myself and how my personality motivates me to behave, which is basically what Enneagram is. And when I can show a client that, you can see on their face, like everything starts to make sense. And then we can really get down to the questions that they won't ask themselves. And you guys know this. They won't ask themselves these questions. And we have to be brave enough, courageous enough to ask the questions to help them see what they need to see. So I think that's, in a probably too long of an answer, what I have noticed about myself.
No, that's really good. For that Enneagram, do you have a website you could give us that we could put in the show notes that people could look into? Because I think that is a really powerful thing. I think understanding your own self more can be really powerful. And I think also with something that we look at are quite often as sort of the I forget her name now, who came up with the archetypes of the 8 different archetypes of drinking. I'll put her name in the show notes too, where you can sort of see your motivation in certain situations, why you drink in a certain situation. Are you someone who drinks to reward themselves? Are you someone who drinks to escape? Someone who wants to enhance a situation to socialize? Is it a mask? Is it self-medication? And when you ask those sort of questions to people, or can you see yourself drinking in those sort of situations, it gives people a handle to sort of go, oh yeah, well I can relate with that. Or I used to drink like that, or that when I'm with my family, I'm a bit like that, or and it can be really, really powerful. For yourself, what's been sort of the most surprising part of your journey, as people like to say, of finding alcohol freedom? What's been the biggest surprise?
I think the most surprising thing is how other people react to me when I say, "Oh, I don't drink anymore." And my mother is 101 years old, and she still says, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry." I said, "Don't be sorry. I'm very happy." But the assumption is that that's poor me. I should really be sad about that. And a lot of people who have quit drinking do feel like, "Oh, I can never go in a bar again. I can never be around alcohol again." And so when I say, "Hey, would you like to go to lunch?" and someone who's a drinker, sure, they assume that I want to go someplace where there's no alcohol. And so I'll say, "Hey, this new place but they have a bar." I'm like, "Yeah, if you want one, have one." And so it's not the same as still being imprisoned by alcohol. So the freedom is really that. It is the freedom to feel like it has no hold over me whatsoever.
I love that. And that actually speaks to the methodology strongly. Actually, with science and compassion, which we've spoken about earlier, it actually helps us change our beliefs. So we're not holding on with any type of willpower to stay sober or not drink. Our belief has changed.
Right.
We could drink anytime we like. We're just genuinely choosing not to. So that is a resounding and outstanding quality of this work. So if anyone's out there looking for that kind of experience, this is what this work does. Margie, what 3 words then would wrap up your feelings around being alcohol free and even being an alcohol freedom coach?
The first word that comes to mind is peace. I had a very chaotic upbringing, and finding the peace within me and the peace within me that no longer requires escaping, that is my number one. What I thought was boredom, I would be so bored if I didn't drink, is actually my peace. And that is something that anybody who has quit and found freedom absolutely understands that. It's a bit of a mental leap if you're just starting out on this journey, but yeah. And I think the contentment of knowing who I am, because I always walked around I'm 67 now, walked around for 64 years and said, I don't know who I am, because I had never allowed myself to be who I was. So it never allowed myself to be authenticity. I think it means being myself, no mask, and being okay with whatever. So it's just, it is, I feel like I found my essence of who I really am. Beyond personality, beyond ego, it is, the stripping away of who is Margie, which was that was my first year. I wanted to say, I got to get alcohol out of my life. That was my big goal. Year 2, after alcohol was out of my life, pardon my language, who the hell is Margie? I had no idea. And so that was how I spent my second year after I was, it was small and irrelevant, figuring out who I was. And I thought the journey would be over at year 2, but I am learning now that I'm starting on year 4. There is no end to this journey. It is always getting to know myself at a deeper level and being able to look back at my journey and pour myself into, as you guys did with the training, and knowing that we are capable of helping so many people. In learning who I was, I discovered my purpose. 67 years and I did not know my purpose. So the ability to be able to reach down and give a hand up to somebody else is everything. It is the rest of my life's work, and I am honored to have the privilege of receiving this training and being with like-minded folks like you guys and helping clients. It is literally a dream come true. But yeah, now I know who Margie is.
That's brilliant, Margie. And the idea that, your surprise about, how it could feel, and the peace, I can so relate to that. I think, if I, when I decided I needed to stop, I just thought, okay, I've got to stop, and, life will be dull and awful without it. So to discover that on the other side, actually life's better, and you can find yourself and live more authentically, it's just an amazing thing. So the more people that find that out, the better. I just didn't know that when I was still drinking.
Absolutely.
Well, can you tell people where they can get in touch with you, how they can find you, if they're looking for some coaching, or just to follow you on Instagram, perhaps?
Yes, I am on Instagram at Brave Space Coach, and that's also my website. bravespace.coach is my website. My coaching company's name is Brave Space Coaching, and it's basically, if you have Brave Space anywhere in your search bar, wherever you're looking, that's how you'll find me. But yeah, so I would love to connect with anybody who resonated with my story, or just to talk. But I want to thank you both for having me here. It's been an amazing experience.
Thank you for sharing your brave space with us, Margie.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.